I really gotta have them turn that down.
Would you like to take this opportunity finally to tell the rioters to stop rioting? Yes or no?
Shut up!
Let me make it clear to the people on both sides of the equation, all of my brothers in Islam and all of the Christians and native people of the UK who feel like they're underrepresented. You have more in common with the people you live amongst than you do with these political elites. The people you live amongst love their children, and they're struggling to pay the bills exactly like you are. What kind of powder keg are we building here through incompetent leadership in the UK? I'm a mixed-race Muslim, and I'm pointing out this very obvious truth.
The sheer brass neck, frankly, Andrew, of you lecturing me about the truth when you've spent the last week spewing complete fake news bullshit. You told your millions of followers, and it was seen by 15 million people, that it was an illegal migrant who had committed these crimes. Are you prepared to apologize for that lie?
Say sorry right now.
In the UK, we have a country so insane that we have no border, we don't know who's there, crimes through the roof,
or else you're
nobody's safe on the streets anymore, and then when you point these things out, somehow you're some kind of racist and bad person.
No, you're posting complete disinformation.
Oh, I'm sorry,
it's not okay.
Sir. Did I get the wrong stabber? Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, you did.
Piers Morgan, of course. I got the wrong stabber.
Yeah, you did.
Piers, be very careful what you say.
Or else I might stab you. W?
On July 29th, a 17-year-old boy murdered 3 girls and injured 8 more children in a horrific mass stabbing at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Merseyside. The alleged killer was born in Wales to Rwandan parents, but police did not initially confirm his identity because he's aged under 18. Disinformation filled the vacuum instead. Right-wing influencers spread a battery of false claims online, including that the killer was a devout Muslim.
Don't care. Why did you race to spread such woeful disinformation?
Such woeful disinformation.
Who talks like that?
Given the massive following you
Why
have,
did you spread such
encourage
woeful
people to take action
misinformation
against a caricature and description of who had perpetrated this, which was simply untrue?
Well, firstly, I'll start by saying I didn't know Nigel Farage said those things about me, which is a shame because I'm actually a fan of him. I think he's trying to do the right thing. I also understand in his political sphere, sometimes he has to hang other people out to dry to save himself because he's getting heat also. Secondly, I'll argue with you about the fact that everything I said was untrue. I think the only thing I said that was untrue is that perhaps he was undocumented. It was a 17-year-old male. It was a migrant. He did kill little girls. And advocating for people to stand outside and make it clear that they're unhappy with what happened is not a dangerous ideology. We live in a democracy where we have the right to protest and the right to make it clear when our voices are not heard. I recently protested against the Olympic ceremony outside the French embassy. I'm not sure if you saw it, complaining about how they depicted Jesus Christ.
And sent $3. Who's worse? The or the vultures coming in to make content and profit off of it.
Hold up. Hold the phone. The pedophile, who's worse? The pedophile or the vultures coming in to make content and profit off of it? Definitely the pedophile. Thank you for the 3 big shout out. I appreciate it. Thank you for the very generous support. Power Chat Live / JimboZoomer to support the show. Keep it on the air.
Because I was unhappy with what I saw. And
definitely the child molester.
That when people feel like they have a voice, they're not likely to get violent. And the problem we have now is that people do not have a voice, which is why we're seeing rioting, which is why we're seeing looting, because people do not feel like there's a political solution any longer. And what I was trying to do is encourage people to stand up and make their voice heard in a peaceful way to avoid violence. Because when people feel like they're not heard, violence is always the end result.
Yeah, but you've actually had the complete opposite effect. And you know the massive following that you have and the influence that you can wield. And by spreading, I mean, again, you've repeated the fact this kid who's been, who has obviously now been charged with very serious crimes, including killing these 3 girls, was a migrant. He wasn't a migrant. He was born in Wales. His parents were legal immigrants from Rwanda. So he's not a migrant. He's somebody born in Wales, born in the United Kingdom.
Well, first things first, it's unfair for you to say that I've had an opposite effect. What I did was point out the facts of the situation, that a 17-year-old male killed little girls.
He was a native Rwandan British
situation
man.
That the sky is blue, and then people go and decide to riot because I've said those things. It does not mean those things are not true. That's the first thing. Secondly, here's where we have the dichotomy of the UK, and I actually think this conversation is going to be one of the most important and potent conversations
of modern
times.
Is he going to cook?
This issue is not going to be solved anytime soon, Piers.
Let's let him.
The problem we have now in the UK is that we have a certain subsect of the population who believe because he was born in Cardiff, he is a Welsh man. And we have another subsect of the population who believe that even if he was born in Cardiff, he is not Welsh. I'm currently in Romania.
He's cooking?
I'm an American and British citizen. The woman who I have a child with is Italian. The child was born in Romania. The Romanians do not consider that child Romanian, not by their view of the world. If I had a child in China, they would not consider that kid Chinese. They would look at the face shape of the child and say that's not a Chinese child.
Yeah.
If I had a black child in Russia, they would not consider that child Russian.
Yeah.
In the West, in the democracies, we do. But we have a problem because you now have you have a dichotomy of ideas. You have two different camps. And the camp that believe that this person perhaps isn't even Welsh in the first place are also the camp which are being suppressed and not allowed to speak and are being smeared and labeled as far right for having genuine concerns. And that is why things are getting exasperated and out of control.
He's
what
cooking?
We need is conversation.
I think he's cooking.
Dialect. You cannot have a multicultural democracy and ignore the concerns of one particular subsect of that culture, especially when it's the native culture, and expect everything to be fine forever. There's a lot of people who have a point of view. They didn't feel like they had a political solution anymore.
Piers.
And this is what's happening. The reason this dichotomy exists.
Okay, let me guess. Piers is gonna ignore everything you just said and then start being okay. Like he's gonna be like, sorry, I'm talking faster than my brain is moving. I'm like speaking over myself. Yeah. Piers Morgan's going to ignore everything Andrew Tate just said, and then he's going to start pressing him on being racist online. This is going to happen.
Please understand. If
they go like, okay, but you posted misinformation and you're racist.
Sitting there and they're accepting that this is a Welsh man, but now they're starting to get concerned for the safety of their children. And they don't feel like there's any kind of political solution, well, then they're going to come to the very simple and obvious conclusion that they'd rather not have anyone from anywhere else in their country to avoid these things happening again.
Do you support Hamas, yes or no?
Solution. This is a fail of the politicians. This is a failure of the leaders. It's a job of a leader to inspire all of the people to have trust in him, not just some of the people, not just the people he likes, not just the people on his party or the people he wants. It is his job as a leader to have every single person in the country believe that he cares about the issue and he's doing something actively to fix it. Instead, what Keir did was stand up and do the absolute opposite. Shut down any legitimate concerns. Tell people they don't have a voice. Tell people nothing's going to change. It's going to stay exactly the way it is. And let me tell you something. I want to make this very clear. There's a lot of people in the world who would rather go to jail and have a warm bed and 3 square meals a day than watch their children die. There's a lot of people who would rather go to jail than watch their society collapse in real time around them. There's a lot of people who would really rather go to jail than feel unsafe to walk the street at night ever again. These are people who have lived in the same place for a very long time. They have a vested interest in this geographical location. And without political solutions being offered, I don't know how
they start talking about Ukraine?
Expect anything other than what we've seen. This is a failure of leadership. And that's what's so disappointing about it.
Right. So here's my response to what you've just said.
Tate on being half white, half black Muslim. What does Piers Morgan go? So what's that like? So what's that like? Muslims believe you were siding with Tommy Robinson. Tate retweeting Nick Fuentes. Tate brands Piers an anti-Semite. Do you denounce right-wing thugs attacking Muslims? Tate calls on right-wing rioters to stop.
First of all Keir Starmer has said, as far as I can see, is that he is going to bring the full force of the law against people who committed acts of violence. And the violence that was perpetrated...
he called them far right.
Yeah, well, there were far-right thugs who were leading this, and they were attacking mosques, they were chanting anti-Muslim chants, and they were doing this because
there
was a
black person in the crowd. Would you say
you've
the
had
crowd
your
was
say.
black people?
I'm going to have my say now. It was put out falsely on social media that the person who did this was a Muslim. Not just a Muslim, but a Muslim who came in on one of the small boats, part of the very contentious, ongoing issue of the small boat. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying this is what was put out on social media in a series of false posts, which then went viral, right? So he was supposedly a Muslim. Not true. Supposedly came in on a small boat. Not true. Supposedly on an MI6 watch list as a potential terrorist. Not true. None of this was true. And so on the back of that,
Do you guys remember... Sorry, this is like random. Do you remember that space when Nick came back where it was like Andrew Tate? Who else? Andrew Tate. Some of like the Muslim, like pro-Palestine people. Someone else. And then like Destiny was there. I think maybe even Richard Spencer was there. Maybe not. You remember that? And it was like everyone was just shitting on Destiny. Like everyone in the whole room was just upset and shitting on Destiny. And then he like rage quit. He left and rage quit. Destiny joined and tried to like make the whole thing like a debate between him and Nick or something. Now that was content. That was good.
Right thugs who led this went up and attacked mosques, and they went and
we need more
attacked
spaces like that.
hotels
That
with
would be
asylum
goated.
seekers in there waiting to be processed, and they was trying to set fire to them. Those are acts of despicable violence which were being led by far-right thugs. Now, not everybody involved in all these protests is a far-right thug. Some of them will be ordinary members of the public trying to legitimately protest peacefully. I completely accept it. But the ones who were leading it, who were committing the acts of violence and making the threats against the Muslim community, were doing so because they have been completely
What are they even talking about?
who had done this. It was not a Muslim. It was not an illegal immigrant. It was not somebody on the MI6 watch list.
It was a black
dude. None of those things. Now, you posted on July the 30th, the day after the killing, and I feel particularly incensed, by the way, that the deaths of these 3 young girls have been hijacked in such a reprehensible manner to attack Muslims when a Muslim had nothing to do with it, right? You put this on July...
This is the man from Cardiff that murdered little girls straight off a boat.
The 30th,
17-year-old demonic monster.
You posted a picture.
Bro's getting dramatic with it.
Cardiff. We're looking at this picture now.
Bro, kick is so shit. Stream buys every 10 seconds. Greekoid, try going to kick. Okay. If the stream keeps like weirdly stuttering, go to kick and just try this. Go down to here where it says the quality and take it off of auto. Just put it on either 1080 or 720 or whatever. But if you select one of these, it won't like jump between these. That's what makes it like pause.
Murdered the little girl straight off a boat, you said. Really? He wasn't straight off a boat because this wasn't the person who perpetrated the crimes. You got 4.3 million views for this. And a community notes clarified, this is not the man that attacked the children and adults in Southport. This image is of Kasonga Mabulu, who was arrested in Ireland in 2023 for a random knife attack at Dublin Airport. So again, 24 hours later, you're posting more. Okay. You're posting more. No, you're posting complete disinformation.
I'm sorry,
it's not okay. Sir. It's not okay.
It
was not the man.
Did I get the wrong... Did I get the wrong stabber?
I'm sorry, sir.
I apologize.
Yeah, you did.
Piers Morgan, of course.
You did.
I'm sorry, sir. It's not okay. It's not okay. Fuck you.
Wrong stabber.
Yeah, you did.
And he certainly looked very Welsh to me. Let me make this clear. I'm a Muslim, and I think anybody who attacked a mosque...
The way Piers just gets mad is always so funny. Most of the time, people like... I don't know. I feel like they handle his anger wrong. Because it really, if you're just like, yeah, whatever you're upset about, yes. I don't disavow.
Just going to have to deal with God. I'm not worried about the full force of the law. They should worry about God.
Thank you, Jimby.
But I also
no
want to
problem.
make something very clear to all the people at home.
Thank you for watching on Kick.
That most of the white people are very frustrated, and they're finding an enemy amongst themselves to take it out on. I think that the white people on these streets have a lot more in common with the brown people on these streets than they do with the politicians, because that's the problem we have here. Keir did not just only say they're going to face the full force of the law. He told everybody with a point of view, everybody who's concerned about the safety of their children, that they are extremists. And that is the most aggravating language
just gifted one subscription.
Hey, thank you so much, Greekoid. Welcome, Blue Race Car. You're now... Well, wait, were you already a sub? I'm going to go ahead and guess. You're now a level 1 slime. Welcome, Blue Race Car. Let's fucking go. Big shout out.
Possibly choose when people finally have had enough of not feeling safe on their own streets any longer. We have people who cannot afford to pay their bills watching migrants arrive who are now being held up in hotels at the taxpayers' expense for indefinite periods of time. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine.
When they start talking about Ukraine
voted for it.
Here.
Nobody wants it, and everybody's struggling to pay.
Is he going to argue with them about that? Is Pierce going to be like, hey, what's your problem with Ukraine, huh?
Their bills, energy prices are
through the roof.
Russia? Inflation is through the roof. Now they no longer feel safe on their streets. They don't want to put their daughters outside to play. The police won't protect them. The police won't turn up for most crimes unless it's something you say bad on Facebook. And when they look for a political solution, they're ignored. What kind of powder keg are we building here through incompetent leadership in the UK? This is nothing but a leadership failure. There's not a country in the world where leadership could fail this spectacularly
once again, Andrew,
different result.
All right. But once again, Andrew, you are spouting nonsense in what you've just said. Not all of it, but some of it.
Once again, nothing you just said made any sense.
It's nonsense. You say, for example, nobody voted for the UK to support Ukraine. We've literally just voted Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom with a landslide majority, and he made it crystal clear before that election that he would be contributing billions of our pounds to help the people of Ukraine thwart a Russian dictator. Well, you may laugh, but you just literally said the complete opposite. So we did actually vote for a leader and a party that was completely committed to dedicating billions of pounds of taxpayer money to helping people in Ukraine defeat Vladimir Putin.
Come on.
So that, again, is a complete untruth.
Andrew, I was with you until you said that about Ukraine. Come on.
You've just espoused.
I'm sure the people who are protesting up there in the north of England who can't afford to pay their bills, who are watching migrants live for free in hotels, who don't feel safe at night because the police don't have enough resources to turn up and respond to crime, are very happy that we're sending money to Ukraine. You're completely right. Yeah.
Hold that thought. Oh, I'm covered up by the sponsor. Hold that thought, Andrew. There's a slot machine on your head. Wow, they hit the jackpot.
The fact he only had 20% of the populace vote has nothing to do with it. And the fact that every single party will send money to Ukraine because we live in a uni-party system which is corrupt to the core in the first place. That's the reason why no matter who you vote for, the migrants keep coming. And no matter who you vote for, the money keeps getting siphoned out of the tax base and sent to Ukraine. That's the truth of it.
Say about that,
most people
Piers?
are starting to realize and wake up to the matrix and understand there are no political solutions because it's all a scam and it's all a lie. What we need is people to understand at home that
okay, let's skip to this part's funny. Piers Morgan calls out Tate's typical man from Cardiff post.
Is bullshit. Is breathtaking, right? And also, I would say you've also been spewing stuff that is blatantly racist.
Bro's got it printed
On the 1st
out.
of August, you posted a cartoon saying "typical man from Cardiff." Let's look at that cartoon. This has had 11 million views.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, it's a taxpayer. It's a migrant arriving on the boat with taxpayers' money, and I think a lot of people are upset about that. And I want to make something clear because I'm a Muslim myself.
Well, when you say typical man from Cardiff, when you say typical man from Cardiff, you are again telling people that in your estimation, the person that committed this came in as an illegal migrant on a boat.
Correct.
That is not true. None of that is true.
Well,
okay, sorry, his dad came here as an illegal migrant on a boat.
You may not be aware of this because you're part of the legacy media machine, which is why you defended Israel so heavily.
I'm on YouTube.
You're not allowed to have your own opinion.
Stop, she does it again.
You're not allowed legacy media.
You're part of the legacy media
on
machine.
YouTube.
And you're not allowed to have your own opinion. But let me explain something
Every
to you,
word of this will go up, as you know.
Perfect. I understand exactly how the media machine works. The fact that they kept highlighting that he's from Cardiff and showing.
Yo, my next door neighbor. Okay, my next door neighbor when I was when I was just growing up, my whole life. Not just when I was a little kid, the whole time. My next door neighbor, there was a kid who's like a year younger than me. His name was Trey, and they were Jehovah's Witnesses, right? But they were like white, like very, very, very white. But his dad looked exactly like Andrew Tate except white, like bald. Like I've never seen him with even a shred of hair, shiny ass, bald head, exact same build. Basically the same face, but with like light eyes. It's crazy. Every time I see Andrew Tate, I just think of that. Bro looks exactly like, I guess, my neighbor when I was growing up. Like 1-to-1. He's just a white Andrew Tate. It's crazy.
Pictures of him as a child, as opposed to showing pictures of him as the large, barbaric man he was, which stabbed those little girls.
Okay, he didn't have the eyes. He didn't have the weird eyes that Andrew Tate has.
Was a deliberate PR spin by the propaganda arm of the British government to try and subvert and subdue the UK populace because they knew everybody would be outraged by what they saw. That's why every picture of him is he's a kid.
Honestly,
they keep saying he's from Cardiff. This was set up on purpose.
You were that Jimbo. It's me, Trey.
He was literally born in Cardiff. The Matrix didn't pretend he was born in Cardiff. You've been posting cartoons of people coming in illegally, armed, on little boats, because you want people to think that the person that did this was that person. But
Correct.
You cut out there, Piers. I think I understood you. I'm a Muslim myself, so there's no reason why I want any kind of violence against Muslims. That's the first thing that's very clear. And I want to make something else very clear. I'm actually in a quite unique scenario as a Muslim revert, half black, half white. I've had both sides of this dichotomy try and recruit me, perhaps. I can't be taught to hate anybody. There's no Muslim alive who can teach me to hate anybody.
I don't got a bone to hate him.
To hate anybody. There's no hate in my heart. There's only love. But when you have love, you have protectiveness. And you have to feel a protectiveness for the things you care about. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. We call people hateful all the time for having a point of view, especially when they get out on the street because they feel like they need to express it. A lot of these people were not hateful. A lot of these people were full of love and they were full of concern. I put up that cartoon.
Absolutely, people to feel hateful. You've encouraged people to feel hateful because you've encouraged people to believe the person that did this crime.
Pierce, non-white people in England are making people feel hateful and sad and depressed.
This alleged person that did it, because he's gone to
killing the vibe.
Not to let the process do its due process. But the person who's been charged with the crimes of killing these poor girls is not an illegal migrant. But you wanted to demonize illegal migrants by what you've been doing in the last week.
Correct.
You wanted people to believe this was one of the people who come over on a boat illegally into this country, part of the social invasion. And here's the interesting thing about your position with regard to your
what makes someone British?
Islam and becoming a Muslim. Muslims, as you know, have been ranting about
crimes committed by illegal migrants, and I still think the country's not safe as long as they're allowed.
What makes someone British?
Fine. And is your position that somebody born in the United Kingdom is not British?
Correct.
Now this, I'm going to have to give you a 30-second answer to, Pierce, but this is going to be a very important conversation for decades to come, so please hear me out. The UK and the Western democracies are the only countries in the world where we will accept somebody born in the country, even if they have a different genetic lineage, are from that country. If you are born in China and you are not Chinese by appearance, they will never consider you Chinese.
But what do you think? What do you think?
Let me answer. But it's not about what I think, sir. Because there's a dichotomy inside of the Western democracies, and this is extremely clear. If you do believe that somebody born in the country, irregardless of their genetic lineage, is from that country,
you'll be talking about this for decades.
You can have a society function in this manner is if all people are fairly politically represented and if there is no two-tier policing. If you're going to allow anybody to turn up to a country, be born, become from that country, get preferential treatment in the political system and the judicial system, you are going to have outrage and you are going to have riots. If we're going to accept, sir, that people who are born inside of the UK at any point are from there, and that is their country, then it's even more important that Keir Starmer represents everybody. He doesn't stand up and spit vitriol, which is going to engulf flames.
But to answer my question,
more important.
Come on, but answer it and be like, but no, I don't think that makes you British.
Two-tier policing like we've been witnessing.
Come on.
Fine. I completely agree there should be no two-tier policing. Everyone should be exposed to the force of the law in exactly the same equitable manner. But just to be clear, do you personally, Andrew Tate, believe if you're born in the United Kingdom, you're British or not?
Personally? I don't think my personal views have anything to do with it. And I
Come on, just say it. Just say it.
You literally put your personal views out morning, noon, and night. So
just say it.
Why are you dodging the question?
Because I don't think my personal views are that interesting. I think I could say my personal views, yes. I believe if you're born in the UK, that you're from the UK. However,
you do. Okay.
However,
fine. No. You've answered the question. You believe they are British.
Okay, so now denounce Hamas.
So that long speech, you agree with me. If you're born in the
denounce
Kingdom, you're British.
Hamas.
Now, the other thing I want to get clarity on is this. This tweet from your friend Nick, as you call him, who's actually a white supremacist,
It doesn't matter what I think, Piers. It matters what the people who are rioting are thinking.
You've made that point. I wanted to know what you think.
Fine. You're trying to get a gotcha moment. You're trying to deflect.
It's not a gotcha moment. I'm asking you to be honest.
That's what I think. You're right.
Okay.
Okay, don't bring race into it. Yeah, what does race have to do with this? Come on.
But the people who are rioting think otherwise. And I'm trying to explain to you how they think. So we can give them a representation to prevent the riots happening again. I can understand other points of view where it seems you cannot.
I answered the question.
Sure.
Yo!
Baby Boy 187 sent $5.
Thank you, Baby Boy.
But anyone who thinks Andrew 1 is coping. He didn't stand on business on one single point. Just half-assed answers. Just say yes, you stupid pussy bitch.
Yeah, and then he said no. I'm not going to agree with the stupid pussy bitch. I just think he's like a mulatto, you know. And his elo and chest is probably not that high. But, yeah, I don't know.
You've answered the question.
Give me the 5, though. Big shout out. PowerChat.live/JimboZoomer to support the show. Keep it on the air. If you're enjoying the show and you don't want it to end at 5, you want to extend it an extra hour, then click PowerChat.live/JimboZoomer. Send in some media if you're in a position to. If not, don't worry about it.
Let me now answer this one simply. When you retweeted the white supremacist Nick Fuentes, who you call Nick, on the subject of the riots, and he said it's clear that not only are these protests
who you called Nick.
Being amplified and directed by Zionist plants on social media. Do you agree with what he said? Is that why you retweeted it?
I agree. I agree with the latter point about how everybody's going to lose their freedoms.
What about the first point I've just read out? Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't have to agree with every single point of a tweet. I can agree with the end result of a tweet. I don't know who's
So you don't agree with
I don't know who's directing.
Hold up his retweets.
Well, I don't know who's directing these riots.
On social
I just
media
know the end result.
Amplified the riots.
I don't know who's...
Piers, did you read his bio? Did you not read his fucking bio? Retweet does not equal endorsement. Hold on, what was the tweet?
You've answered the question. Let me now answer this one simply. When you retweeted the white supremacist Nick Fuentes, who you call Nick, on the subject of the riots, he said it's clear that not only are these protests being amplified and directed by Zionist plants on social media, do you agree with what he said? Is that why you retweeted it?
I agree. I agree with the latter point about how everybody's going to lose their freedoms.
What about the first point I've just read out?
Yeah, the Zionist thing too.
Well, I don't have to agree with every single point of a tweet.
You do agree with that, though.
I don't know who's directing.
So you don't agree with him?
I don't know who's directing.
So you, just to be clear,
you literally do agree with it.
I don't know who's directing these riots. I just know the end result.
Amplified the riots.
I don't know who's directing these riots. I know the end result. I know why the riots happened in my own personal view because of underrepresentation. I think Keir Starmer's failed.
Do you think it was Zionist plans?
Our political class has sold us out.
Come on.
I think that the end result is going to be bad times for everyone in the UK. My Muslim brothers are going to suffer. Brown people will suffer. Christians will suffer. Black will suffer. It's bad times for everybody. I'm not going to say who's directing what because I'm not sure.
He's going to suffer like 5 times more because he's like overrepresented in all those groups.
No. I'm just telling you exactly why I retweeted that tweet.
Right, so a white supremacist anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes, claims Zionist plants for amplifying and directing these riots. And you retweet him.
Do you know who he's talking about when he says that?
Yay, Nick has a cool friend. Yay. Go, Nick. Go, Nick, says Traxy.
Who?
He's talking about Tommy Robinson, who's openly Zionist. Do you believe Tommy Robinson incited these things? Because if you do, you agree with Nick Fuentes. You have just been sitting here saying Zionists and been pushing.
Sorry, just to be clear.
All right, checkmate. That is a checkmate. Maybe his elo's a little higher than I thought.
So you just fell into the exact same trap. You agree exactly with what Nick just said. So now you're going to sit here and say, oh, he's a white supremacist to try and get gotcha moments when you fail with your own point of view. Tommy is a Zionist, sir. Tommy is a Zionist.
Just to be clear then, so just to be clear, when you retweeted this, you believed Nick Fuentes was talking about Tommy Robinson.
He is.
I believe he was talking about Tommy Robinson, but I only agree with the latter part of the tweet, as I said.
Right.
But you agree with the first part of the tweet.
So to be clear,
I don't know why you're sitting there trying to use it as a gotcha when you agree with the tweet yourself.
To be clear, then you don't agree when he said the protests are being amplified and directed by Zionist plants on social media. You don't agree with that.
Boom.
No, I think that people had a legitimate concern.
Thank you. That's all we need.
We cloned him. He's still in jail.
I don't need another speech, Andrew. You've answered the question.
You agree with Zionists.
It's fine.
You believe that Zionists have solved
No need for a speech.
You do.
No need for a speech.
You are an anti-Semite.
Let me read to you comments from the influential Muslim commentator who's been on Uncensored, Muhammad Hijab, who said to you this: "My brother, I've always supported you, but you're severely off the mark on the following points.
Pierce, an anti-Semite.
Far-right figures like Tommy Robinson is haram, as he is an enemy of Islam. Your lack of condemnation of far-right thugs who attacked a mosque and who attacked Muslims and Islam more generally. The
comments on all of these videos are so funny because everyone just disagrees with him in every video. Like the comment section, Piers has no fans. Like no one's sitting there agreeing with him. It's like everyone just hates him and just watches when, like, you know, when their side goes on.
Far-right hooligans want no peace with us.
Good show, gentlemen. Good points on both sides.
For us to be an impossible subject. Our existence frustrates them. You are one of us. They will never accept you fully until you embrace their beliefs. We worship Allah alone and build our purpose on this. No one can compete with this. I urge you to endorse this message and salvage the situation." Do you endorse his message? Do you now denounce right-wing thugs who committed attacks on Muslims and on mosques in the last week?
Shit.
And do you therefore condemn Tommy Robinson for inciting it?
Oh, okay. So firstly, I absolutely condemn all violence, especially against Muslims and against mosques. I know Muhammad Hijab.
Regardless where you stand, you can appreciate the sportsmanship. That's true. That's true. It's good to see. It's good to see. At least we know there's some polite British gentlemen like these in the world.
Well, and I respect him, and he is.
They can have a good faith debate.
extremely versed on the Quran and Islam. He's more versed than I am. I think that by having open conversation with people,
a million haters who constantly watch you is valid, though. Yeah, true.
With them, but perhaps this is
if
a
you just don't give a
perception I
fuck.
need to address. Of course, I think anybody who's been violent on either side is doing the wrong thing and is being disgusting. I want to make something clear. Piers, you do this very common trick of me explaining to you why I believe something is happening and then you saying that that's my point of view. I'm not saying I agree with right-wing people who are rioting and attacking Muslims. I'm telling you why I believe they did it. I believe they did it because they didn't feel like they had political representation. That does not mean I represent them. That does not mean I advocate for them. That does not mean I agree with them. That's not why they did it. I just sat here. I just sat here while you told me Nigel Farage sold me out.
That's not why they did it.
I still agree with some things he said.
Why'd they do it?
I'm a very logical person. I'm not emotional.
Yeah, then why did they do it?
If you're logical, you'll understand. But Andrew, if you're logical, you will understand that is not why they did what they did.
Why did they do it?
Rioted. They rioted in direct response to a social media-led campaign of disinformation which told them that the person who killed these little girls was an illegal immigrant Muslim.
Wait, so would it have been okay if it was? And if so, does that make it okay for them to just go kill all second-generation Rwandan?
Who was on an MI6 terror watch list.
This is very important.
None of those
put me
things
on
were
this
true.
show. Come on. Put me on.
Piers, this is very important, sir. And I consider you in many ways a friend. This is very important. You advocated. Please let me finish this. It's 30
Hold
seconds.
that thought. Top G is eating Piers Morgan alive. Sign up today to play at Crown Coins Casino and enjoy dozens of free casino-style games. You can spin twice for free. Okay. Power chat live / JimboZoomer to support the show. Keep it on the air.
You advocated for the vaccine and you got people killed. You are now going to be advocating for people to lose their freedom of speech online.
Oh, now he's really just trying to trigger the fuck out of Piers. Let's go.
In many ways, a friend. This is very important. You advocated. Please let me finish this. It's 30 seconds. Piers, this is very important, sir. And I consider you in many ways a friend. This is very important. You advocated. Please let me finish this. It's 30 seconds. You advocated for the vaccine and you got people killed. You are now going to be advocating for people to lose their freedom of speech online, and there's not going to be anyone's going to be allowed discourse anymore, because you're sitting here pretending that somebody making a video being upset about little girls dying is the reason the UK was set on fire and not the failure of politicians across generations, sir. That is a fallacy.
It was
you know it is a fallacy, and it is dangerous. It is dangerous for you to even push this, Piers, because we're going to end up in a world where no one is allowed to talk anymore.
Don't gamble, you'll lose. Don't gamble, you'll lose.
For it. And when everyone's sitting at home without a point of view, then the slavery is going to be fully implemented on the populace. And you are a bad person for trying to get people's point of view taken off the internet.
No, fine. There are perfectly legitimate questions, as I've been agreeing with you about in this interview, about the levels of legal and illegal migration to the UK. They are simply unsustainable, and I will be hard on Labour until they work out a solution.
We can't talk about it online.
There are also plenty of issues.
You just said if we talk about it, there'll be a riot.
No, we are talking about it. And you have millions of followers.
You just said we shouldn't be allowed to.
And I'm going to go riot.
But you also have a responsibility.
You have a responsibility. You have
burn down at Greg's and just write Piers Morgan on the wall.
Responsibility to be accurate. Do you agree?
Uncensored.
Oh, absolutely. And I was 95% accurate, which is more accurate than the BBC's ever been about anything. Or you, for extension, most of the time. You've been wrong a whole bunch. Do you condemn Israel? Do you remember that? October 7th, do you condemn?
I do.
Condemn Israel and their genocide? Oh, it's about time. So I was right back then, and it took you 6 months to catch up, and you're going to see.
Sure.
You weren't right back then.
Right. If we don't,
you said,
I'm right. If we don't cure the disease, which is people feeling underrepresented by the political class, the symptoms, which is violence, are going to continue to prop up all around the country.
Fine, but
forever.
what you don't seem to want to accept,
sir.
Fine.
Sir.
What you don't seem to want to accept.
I yield to you, sir. Now. How will you return this gambit?
Is that what you were saying?
No.
Is that the politicians are perfect, and they've done nothing wrong, and the people have no good point of view, and that we should shut everyone up online and not let anyone talk?
Complete nonsense.
You are advocating
Nobody
for
is shut up
slavery for the
online.
population. That's what you're advocating for.
Let me speak. Nobody is shut up online. Elon Musk has made it much
Baby
easier.
Boy 187 sent $5. Piers is trying to end this man's career and life. Meanwhile, Andrew mid-debate. Piers, you're my friend. Tough guy BTW.
Well, no, he was saying that as a joke. He didn't mean, I mean, he was he was saying that so that Piers would let him like finish the 30 seconds where he's like, you got a bunch of people killed by giving them the COVID vaccine. And now you're going to get them killed because they're not going to be able to riot.
Easier for everyone.
I don't think he meant that. I mean, did he? I don't think so. Maybe. Thank you for the 5, though. Big shout out. I appreciate it. Thank you, baby boy, for helping to keep the show alive.
Want to be online and have
Power Chat Live / JimboZoomer today to support the show. Request whatever you want. We got like 15 minutes left.
Have their say, you do
Unless
it all
read the
day long.
donut.
You spew a lot of untruths, and I'm simply asking you, when you're wrong and what you say helps influence minds to go and commit riots, as it did, because you and Tommy Robinson, between you and others who were amplifying and spreading this bullshit about who this person was, ended up with rioting against Muslims who had nothing to do with the killing of those girls.
Pierce.
And you, as a Muslim of all people, should have been the first to denounce it.
Of course, Pierce. No, Pierce. The logic failed. You're a smart man. But are you trying to say that if you say anything online, you are now responsible for all the consequences of that action?
Correct.
So if Cardi B sings about how she can drug men and lie that they raped her, if a girl then lies about being raped and ruins that man's life, Cardi B is responsible? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
That is
No, I'm asking you
that's
this.
such a logic fail. It doesn't even make sense.
No, I'm not saying that.
There's a lot of people who say a lot of things online. There's a lot of
Andrew,
people
let me
who
ask you a
advocate for
question.
insane.
Okay, enough.
If you've been on
Next
Minecraft,
was this.
you